I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? How you doing? It is a great day, and I have an author on the show. Somebody came up to me the other day and they said, "You're so excited about seeing or hearing your guests. Is that authentic?" It is definitely authentic. It is definitely authentic. I'm absolutely in love with what I do. I love this. I get to meet people, be a part of their lives, and like never be erased. I guess. I guess that's the best explanation I can give. And that
Well,
is,
you're already part of mine.
hey, Mr. Day. It's Author Day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me.
You are more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So see, I get to be a part of people's lives. I can't be erased. I'm like here. I love it. That's the biggest thing. It's like it leaves a legacy for me. At least in my mind, it does.
Well, that's cool.
Awesome. So
Just don't
Mr. Day,
cancel me. I might cry.
Mr. Day, tell us about yourself.
I live in Simsbury, Connecticut. Was born in Baltimore, where my father was taking classes at Johns Hopkins after coming back from the Pacific. And from Baltimore, we moved up to Hartford, where his family was. And that's where I was brought up.
Wow.
Later on, I married, and we lived in West Hartford for almost 30 years, and then moved to Simsbury. And that's where we are presently.
Wow. Okay. All right. Awesome. I mean, growing up, did you ever think you were going to be able to or ever write a book?
No. I wrote lots of songs and poems, most of which were horrible. But I didn't actually think about writing a book until I was in my 60s, probably.
Wow. Wow. So what happened? What made you decide that you needed to write a book?
Not sure. I just picked up a blank notebook at the store one day and decided I was going to try and write something that would come out eventually and be published. And I went from there. It wasn't a conscious, I'm going to be a writer type of deal.
Wow.
Once I started, then, of course, I had to keep going.
Right. Of course. And okay, so my goodness, it was like from one day to the next. Wow. So now that you pinpoint it and you go back, I mean, what led up to this point though? I mean, you said you were writing songs and stuff and it wasn't very good, but now you have a book that's excellent.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Yes, I definitely do. So tell me about that walk up. What led up to writing this book particularly?
Well, this is actually the second book in what is going to be a trilogy. The first one is called Death at Dawn, and it deals with the two characters that I bring forward in The Velvet Trap. And having finished Death at Dawn, I've kept going, and out came The Velvet Trap, using the same characters but a different situation.
Right. Wow. So this book, tell me about this. This one, I mean, this book has some twists and turns in it.
Yeah, it does twist a bit. It deals with a trans female named Dianne Vargas and her partner MJ McCaal, and they're at the funeral for Diane's mother, and she gets into an argument with a woman who used to be her closest friend in childhood. So they leave figuring, well, that's that, but only to get a call from this woman who wants Dianne to help find her daughter who has disappeared. And so they agree to start doing that. And at the same time, her partner, McCaal, is disappearing, is investigating a killer who killed one of the people that was working for friends of his. So they've got two things going at the same time. It's a little complicated.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just trying to figure out, all of these twists and turns and everything. How did you come up with that? I know you said that, this is the second book of a trilogy, but is it harder to write a second book after writing the first one? Don't you kind of leave yourself empty for that one?
No, not really. I have periodic writer's block, so called, uh, where I might be doing something other than sitting in front of my computer. Uh, the first one was the hardest because I was trying to come up with characters that stood out and that people would be interesting and people would be interested in. And I walk early in the mornings. I take exercise. At that time, it was for an hour or so every morning. And walking up a hill one day, I said, "My goodness, what if I made the female character uh, a trans female, non-op, which means that commonly known as a chick with a dick."
Oh my gosh.
And so I went from there, and
Wow.
that was how I formed that character. And uh, MJ McCaal sort of fit naturally in with that. I mean, they're total opposites in many ways, not just sexually,
That
but they
is
seem to
like,
work together.
wow. Wow. So trans, I mean, that's a big deal nowadays. Could it have
Yeah.
been any other kind of female? Why did you choose trans?
I couldn't tell you, to tell you the truth. It just came to me, and I did some research on what people go through to change from one sex to the other, and it's a long, tedious, and sometimes very expensive process.
Oh yeah.
And so I started with Dianne Vargas, who was born Donnie Vargas, and went from there. It seemed to flow that if I had a female who was a private detective, then she had to have a partner, and so I came up with MJ McCaal. And during the first book, he finds somebody has killed his wife, and they go after the killer. In the Velvet Trap, they look for this woman, this child who's disappeared, and it's really a takeoff on the scandal of I can't remember his name at this point, but it was a big to do. He had his own island, and he had people flying in and out of it on the Lola Express. And so that's what a good part of Velvet Trap is all about. And the other part is that there's this boy who met a girl. She was blind. And then some 10 or 15 years later, they meet again and fall in love. And so they're happily married. He discovers that a relative of his has left a great deal of money, and he tries to hide it, but he gets killed for it. And so they're going, McCaal and Vargas are trying to find the killer before the killer goes after the wife, who is blind. That's the cover of the book. So these two things are going on at the same time. As you say,
Mm,
lots of twists and turns.
definitely. Definitely. Oh my gosh. But then there's like other twists and turns in there I don't want to give away. But oh my goodness, this is crazy. That's like wow. I mean, okay, so
Yeah,
are you turning this
LGBTQ has come into its own.
yes, definitely. And let me ask you a question. Are you turning this into a movie at any point? I could see it.
Uh, we're passing it around to the various moving houses to see if there's any interest. Uh,
Wow.
so it could be a movie.
What would you do? How would you act? I mean, coming from, the point where you said you weren't very good to this point. And then if they do decide they wanted to do a movie, I mean, what would you do?
Well, I'd be happy for one thing because they would pay me and make up for all the money I've spent trying to get this book published and into a movie and whatever else I can do, including talking with beautiful ladies on the internet.
Thank you. Wow, this is amazing. I mean, just amazing. You guys have got to go check this out. The Velvet Trap by Arthur Day. I mean, literally speaking, it takes some twists and turns you would never expect. Ever. Ever. And there's only 2 left in stock. So you might have to replenish that, sir.
Yeah, might have to. I hope so.
I hope so too. Wow. What kind of advice do you give to people who may not have been very good, but now they could just go ahead and be excellent?
Keep at it. Uh, Read a lot. The more you read, the more you become aware of what writing's all about, and the better your writing becomes in return. My first book
That's just
wasn't all that good, although I thought it was. But as you mentioned, the last one is much better.
that's so simple. That is just so simple. Just keep at it, guys. Well, did we
Yep.
miss anything today, Mr. Arthur Day?
No, not that I know of. If you have
Awesome.
other questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Well, I have one more. Where can people find your book?
I'm on Amazon, and I'm on the publisher, of course, Authors Tranquility Press, and you can get in touch with me if you like, and I can send you a copy.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. But you only have 2 in stock. You might have to restock first.
Yeah, might have to restock first. You're right.
Yep. Yep. Definitely have to restock first. Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Day, for being on the show. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to have that in the description box below, the link for the Velvet Trap, so that you guys can go ahead and go through all those loops and turns and possibly even read the book before it becomes a movie. I want to thank you guys
Have
so
a
much for
fun.
tuning in. Oh my gosh. Thank you. And thank you.
Thank
And don't
you,
forget,
and thank your audience too for listening in.
awesome. And don't forget to dare to be different, guys. Until next time. Bye. Oh my gosh, Mr. Day. What a great book. It just turns and leaps.